Hello, my name is Deron Butler, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In my last video, I gave my predictions and analysis on the Pacific Division, and now it's time to talk about the Southwest Division, starting with the San Antonio Spurs. The good news for the Spurs is that Victor Wembanyama is someone that they can build around, especially after winning last season's Rookie of the Year honors. The bad news is that it's going to be a long rebuild before San Antonio can get back to their contender status from the days of Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker. I see San Antonio finishing in the bottom 5 of the Western Conference, and I also see them getting a top 5 pick in next year's draft. All in all, it's still a long rebuilding phase for San Antonio, but with the right draft picks here and there, plus a few acquisitions, I can see the Spurs becoming contenders within the next 2 to 3 years, as long as Victor Wembanyama remains healthy and his progress continues to go upward. Next, we have the defending Western Conference champions, Dallas Mavericks. Last season saw the Dallas Mavericks come up short in their bid to win the NBA Finals against the Boston Celtics, but during the offseason, they came up big with an acquisition when they acquired Klay Thompson from the Golden State Warriors. With the addition of Thompson, not only are they getting more championship experience, aside from Kyrie Irving, who won an NBA championship back in 2016, but they're also adding more offensive weapons to an already loaded team. Not only do I see Luka Doncic possibly winning a regular season MVP, but I also see the Dallas Mavericks making the NBA Finals, aside from the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think the Mavericks are going to be one of the stronger teams in the Western Conference, if not the league, and I think they're going to be fun to watch this season. Next, we have the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets have a young core that I love right now, consisting of Jabari Smith Jr., Alperen Sengun, Jalen Green, Reed Shepard, Tari Eason, and a few others. But they're also led by some veterans like Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet. I do see Houston being a playoff team, but more likely they're going to be a play-in team this season, considering how loaded and dangerous the Western Conference looks. As I mentioned before, I like Alperen Sengun, I like Jabari Smith Jr. I think those two are going to be all-stars for the Houston Rockets. I love that dynamic duo that they have when they protect the paint, and they play very good on offense and defense. I think this season is where we begin to see the rise of this young Houston Rockets team, and I think they're going to be a playoff contender for the next few years. I definitely see them being a threat somewhere down the road. Next, we have the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans have a core consisting of Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, DeJounte Murray, who once played for the Atlanta Hawks, and CJ McCollum. While this foursome looks good on paper, it's the rest of the squad that worries me. Aside from a few names like Jose Alvarado, Trey Murphy, Javonte Green, Daniel Tice, Brandon Boston Jr., and Herb Jones, there's not much to speak of when it comes to the Pelicans bench. I think that bench is kind of underrated compared to the rest of the division. And on top of all that, you have the ongoing lingering issue that is Zion's health. I just want to see one season where Zion Williamson isn't injured. Perhaps maybe more than one, but that's asking for too much. All in all, I just want to see Zion doing good and putting up big numbers. As for the Pelicans themselves, I can see them being a play-in team by just a smidge, but most likely they'll be in the draft lottery by the end of the season. Either way, it's going to be a long season in the Big Easy. Finally, we have the Memphis Grizzlies. Last season was a nightmare for the Grizzlies, which saw John Morant getting suspended 25 games due to misconduct, and when he came back, he was injured for the rest of the season. On top of that, the Grizzlies lost their last 5 games towards the end of the season, placing them 13th in the Western Conference standings. The Grizzlies selected Zach Edey from Purdue in the NBA draft, but their biggest acquisition was signing an undrafted rookie by the name of Yuki Kawamura, who was sensational in the Paris Olympic Games for Team Japan. With Zach Edey's size in the paint, I think he's going to complement guys like Jaren Jackson Jr. and Santi Aldama. And with Yuki Kawamura, I think he's going to be an explosive X factor for the Grizzlies. He's got a lot of heart, he doesn't fear anyone on the court, and I think he's going to be a big time star. I do see an improvement for the Memphis Grizzlies. I do think they're going to be either a playoff team or a play-in team, but it's most likely they're going to see the postseason. The Southwest Division looks like it's going to be a fun and interesting division in the Western Conference, with Dallas, Houston, and Memphis being strong and competitive teams. Then you have the San Antonio Spurs, who are in their rebuild phase, and the New Orleans Pelicans. While they look good on paper with Zion, Brandon Ingram, DeJounte Murray, and CJ McCollum, their main concern is keeping an eye on Zion and his health. My predictions for the Southwest Division standings are the Dallas Mavericks, followed by the Memphis Grizzlies, then the Houston Rockets, the San Antonio Spurs, and finally the New Orleans Pelicans. Hey, if you made it through the end of the video, thank you. I appreciate it. I look forward to reading your comments and interacting with each and every one of you. I'm Deron Butler, reminding you to always run through the paint.